Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on this 2008 Chevy Cobalt. We're going to be doing an oil change. So I got my ramps out. I'm going to show you guys how to drive it up on the ramps. So much like our last video, we lined up the ramps and we just kind of drove up nice and slow, gas and brake, wiggled it in, and now we're nice and safe. I'm going to get an extra block to put behind the tire just to make sure it doesn't roll off. Now we'll pop the hood. This hood latch is getting a little rough here, so I'm going to have to oil that up before we close this back up again. Back to our oil change here. So this vehicle, right on the cap, 5W30 for this one. I think I'll pull this out. Oh wow. In this car, I'm just going to pop this off here. I'm really holding that cover in the way here. If we look down in here, this is where our oil filter is on this car. So I'm going to show you guys what I do to get that filter off. So there is a special tool, a large socket for getting that off, but I have an extra crescent wrench and was able to just chop it like so, and now I can get in there and unscrew that. It gives you enough room to get around and get underneath here and unscrew that without having to buy their fancy socket. Now if you don't have a crescent wrench to cut in half, go ahead, buy the socket, nothing wrong with that, but you know, again, just trying to save a couple dollars here. So I'm going to pop this top off here now. And so here is the oil filter. Not really typical of most vehicles that I've worked on. Just a filter with no housing that just kind of clips into this lid here. So something a little different on these Chevy Cobalts compared to most average cars you're going to do an oil change on. So we got the old oil filter out, we just popped that out. You'll see the new filter comes with a new ring to replace on here, a new rubber ring. I like using just these clip tools here, just these little pokers to get the old one off. I'll go ahead and just place that new one on there. Make sure everything's reasonably clean when you're doing this, and it should have been when you started already. Beautiful. So that's all prepared. We snap that back in here like so. And now our filter's ready. But before we put our filter in, let's finish draining this oil. Okay, so we're gonna pop this oil plug out now. Oil drain. Alright, so we're gonna pop this oil drain plug out now. So if you can see, that there's the transmission pan. We're not after that. This here is our oil pan. You can see this here. This is our bolt. And that's a 15mm bolt. And so we're just going to line up our oil pan with that bolt. When the oil comes out, it's going to shoot out pretty far because there's lots of pressure, and then it'll slowly trickle back. Alright, so let's go ahead and pop that. Again, this motor oil is very hot, so be careful what you're doing right now. You always want to have the motor nice and warm when you do an oil change. Get all that engine sludge out of there. And it should drain nice and quickly since we have all the filter out and everything. Alright, we're back now. We're going to seal this up here. And not overly tight. You want to be able to get this back off in the future, right? So, just nice and snug like so. Okay, we'll give that a little wipe, and then we'll drive this off the ramps and we'll top it up. So as I'm looking at the oil that we've drained out, I just wanted to show this to you guys. You can see there's a little bit of foaminess almost to the oil here. I'm going to look into it a little bit more, but I think what's been going on here is the car might have previously been run with synthetic, and now we've been running on conventional motor oil. Conventional motor oil and synthetic, when they mix, can foam up and cause a little bit of these bubbles like this. So I'm going to do a little bit of homework on this and see if we can get an answer. But it's definitely something we should monitor and keep an eye on. It's definitely not just clean oil in here. I don't see any coolant loss, so I don't think it's coolant in the oil. I just think that maybe we have two different oils mixed in here. So again, we have some 5W30 for this vehicle. We're going to pour it sideways to start. Yeah, if you keep your funnel lifted a little bit, it will drain faster than if you just let it kind of sit there. Since we did the filter on this, I'm going to go ahead and put all 5 liters of this oil in this motor. before I check the level on this vehicle, I'm going to run it a little bit just to make sure that we have ample fluid into the oil filter. I'm going to pull the dipstick out, clean it off, stick it back in and check it out. So if you guys will be able to see that on the camera, our dipstick's a little bit different in this car than the last one. But same idea, we've got a low and a max. And as you can see, we're pretty much right at the max here. You can see a little bit of that foaminess from the previous oil. We'll just slip our cover back on now. Pop our oil cap back on. And we're going to oil up that latch before we go. I have a little bit of this white grease here I like to use for this. Just some regular chassis grease. And we're just going to wipe this in a couple of these moving parts along this pin area here. And we'll just work it back and forth a few times. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Just keep kind of working it and smushing it in there with your finger. There we go. Now we've got something that'll work a little bit easier for next time, hopefully. Alright, thanks for joining us this week, guys. See you in the next one. To reset the oil life gauge, we're going to do key on, key off, key on, and pump the pedal 3 times. And then we'll start it up. Oil life 100%. And that's that.